Hi everyone, welcome to your science lesson. And today's big question is, why do people grow different plants in their garden? So our learning objective is to identify and describe garden plants today. And our success criteria is explain what a plant is, name a variety of garden plants, describe the features of plants, and finally we're going to design and label our own gardens. So firstly, let's remind ourselves of what a plant is. So I want you to pause the screen here and just have a go at answering this question. What is a plant? Okay, how did you get on? Right, so a couple of main things about plants then. Let's see if you had these ideas. So a plant is something that is alive, is a living thing. That grows. So remember last week I kind of compared it to you and I. We are living things that grow, and so are plants. And let's just make sure that I'm remembering those key sentence features. Capital letter at the start, full stop at the end. Well done if you noticed that I forgot those. So a plant is a living thing that grows, and what does it need? Can you remember? Did you mention some of the things it needs? It needs water, and light, and air. Water, light, and air. So plants are living things that grow, and they need water, light, and air to be able to grow. Okay, have a look at these pictures. I want you to see if you can identify any of the plants that you might already know from these pictures, and think about where they are growing. Okay, so pause the screen here to have a think about those questions. Okay, so all of these plants are growing in gardens, and we're going to be looking at what these types of plants are called and a few others as well through this lesson today. So did you recognize any of those? Let's see what they are. So these are called Primula. They are small plants that are easy to grow. Have you ever seen Primula before? These are sweet peas, and they are climbers. That's the type of plant, a climber. Just like in the name, it's a plant that climbs. So it will often grow up something. So you can see here, these sweet peas are attached to these wooden rods, and they're going to grow up that. Okay, they climb up there, and they can grow quite tall, and they spread quite a lot. So they are climbers that are also very easy to grow. That's how they can spread really easily and grow really easily. They also smell absolutely beautiful. Just like in the name, they smell really, really sweet. So you might have smelled some sweet peas before you even noticed seeing them, because they smell so sweet and lovely. Have you seen them before? Great. So this picture has lots of different plants in it. What do you think these plants are? You might have seen a few of them already this year. They are daffodils, and they're quite distinctive because they've got a kind of trumpet-shaped flower on them, and they're always yellow, and they're very kind of they're associated with Easter and spring, and I've seen quite a few on my walks that I've been going on. We've also got another flower quite associated with spring just here. This one that's got a red flower to it. Do you know what that's called? It's called a tulip. Those are tulips, and there's a few of them mixed in with the daffodils. And then if you look down here, we can see some much smaller, shorter flowers. And do you know what those might be called? So those are called forget-me-nots. Easy to remember because of the name once you know what they look like. And then in this picture, there's lots of plants, but most of the flowering plants that we can see are, do you know what they're called? Roses. Okay. But what else can we see apart from the roses? We've got some lovely arches here with different coloured roses. But what other plants are in the picture? In the background. Trees. Did you spot the trees? Here they are, really tall trees at the back and over here. And trees are plants too. So flowers are plants, but so are trees. This is an apple tree in an orchard. So an orchard is a place where there's lots of apple trees growing. So why do you think that someone that has a big garden might like to have an apple tree in their garden? So just pause here to have a think and have a chat with somebody in the room or a teddy. Why do you think someone with a big garden might have an apple tree? Okay, so unlike the flowers, trees take up more space, don't they? So if someone's got a bigger garden, then they've got a lot more space and a lot more room to grow trees like apple trees. Wow, now this is a really big tree. Do you know what this tree is called? If you have seen Harry Potter, you might know what this tree is called because there is one that comes to life in Harry Potter. Pause here to have a think. So this is called a weeping willow. And it's really unusual because it's got quite a drooping shape, hasn't it? If you look at the branches and the leaves, they're really drooping down. I want you to think about, have a look at this picture and have a go at describing this tree. So pause here. Can you describe this tree, this weeping willow? Okay, so what words did you come up with to describe the weeping willow? Let's see if you came up with any of these. So I went with enormous, drooping, tall, graceful. And one for bonus points. I don't know if anyone would have got this one. Deciduous. Ooh. We have mentioned deciduous and evergreen trees before. So you might remember that deciduous trees are trees that lose their leaves. So we can't tell that from this picture, from this photograph, but if you've seen weeping willows in the winter before without any leaves on them, then you might already know that they are deciduous. They lose their leaves in the winter. Okay, so different people like to have different plants growing in their gardens because I'm sure you've noticed that no gardens are ever the same as each other, are they really? Well, unless they're just plain grass in the garden, but no gardens really, if you've got lots of plants in them, they don't look the same. People choose different plants for their gardens. Some people like plants that are easy to grow. So that's like the Primula and the sweet pea that we saw earlier. So if you don't have much time to go and look after your garden, spend lots of time in your garden, then you're more likely to choose plants that grow easily. But other people choose flowers for their colour or because they attract insects. So if they've got a bit more time, they can choose the plants that they really like the look of and the colour of or the smell of, or because they know that it will help things like the bees who need lovely flowers to help them survive. So people choose different plants and different things to grow in their garden for different reasons. And today, in a minute, you're going to have a go at designing your very own garden. So here are some of the plants that we've looked at today that you might like to choose to add to your garden. And I will save this vocabulary slide to the science teams folder so that you can print it off if you like, or just have it near you while you're designing your garden. So we've got, can you have a look with me? We've got Primula. What is this flower? We haven't actually looked at this one today, but you probably know it. Sunflower. And this is the sweet peas. And down here we've got forget-me-nots and daffodils and roses and tulips. And then we've got those 2 trees. We've got an apple tree and a weeping willow. So you can use these for ideas for your garden, but you can put whatever you like in it really, any flowers, any trees that you like. So step 1 is you're going to design and label your own garden. So you can just do this on a blank sheet of paper and then take a photo of it when you're finished and upload it to the assignment. So I'm just going to show you really quickly how you might like to go about doing this. So the only thing in plants aren't the only thing in gardens, are they? Sometimes we have other things like paths and sheds and ponds. So you can add those things as well. So I'm going to start us off by, I'm going to have a path going through my garden. I'm going to draw a long and winding path to start me off. So I'm going to write path here to label it. There's my path. Then I'd really like to have a pond as well. So I'm going to draw a pond over here. Again, I'm going to label it pond. And I think I'd like to make my pond a little quiet area. So I'm going to have a fence going around the pond as well. Ooh, and I've got an idea for what I want to do with my fence in a minute. Can you have a think which was the plant that we said can climb? What's a climber? Fence. Okay, so I've got my path and I've got a pond and a fence. Now this isn't looking the best, but as I've said to you plenty of times before, it's really hard to draw on here. So I know yours is going to be a lot better than mine. So we've got a pond, a fence and a path. Now I'm going to make a start at drawing my sweet peas. They're going to be climbing up the fence. So like this. Pink flowers, weren't they? So we'll just draw some. Oh, I should have done green. Okay, now I know you wouldn't have made that mistake. If you're drawing your plants, you're going to make sure that they are green and not black. We don't want black plants. That's not a good sign. Okay, so there's my sweet peas growing up the fence. What else would I like to have in my garden? Now, as it's spring and I've seen lots of them around, I think I'd like to have some daffodils as well. Right, so this time I'm going to make sure I use the right colours for my daffodils. Now, I know that my daffodils are not going to be as tall as a fence, so I need to think about the size when I'm drawing it. I think I'm going to draw them around the pond as well. So there's some daffodils growing. And I need to make sure I've got the yellow flowers on them. Okay, so there's my daffodils. Oh, how have I spelled it right? Daffodils. My pond, and then, I would like, this is quite a big garden, isn't it? I think if it's got all this space, I'm going to have an apple tree. So let's draw my apple tree, and I need to make sure that my apple tree is taller, definitely taller than my daffodils, and probably even taller than my fence. I quite like a big apple tree in my garden. So there is the tree trunk. And make sure there's some detail in there as well. I'm going to make sure I can see some branches in my tree. First. It's better. And then some branches. Ooh. It's a little bit more realistic now. And then finally, let's draw those apples. Okay, and then label my apple tree. And then finally, I think I might have a couple of sunflowers because they're always really fun to see how tall they can grow. Have a bit of a competition between me and someone in my family to see if we can grow the tallest sunflowers. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to draw a big flower, but I need to remember that it's got a lot of seeds in the middle, hasn't it? So I'm going to make sure I get to make it realistic. Until I go and oops. Maybe I don't want to do that. The seeds of sunflowers are brown, so I'm just going to middle. You will do a much better job than me, I'm certain of it. And one more label. Oh, let's not forget the leaves though. Okay, so I know that you're going to do a better job and you're going to do much more detail in your lovely garden. And as I said before, you can do anything that you like, draw anything that you like in your garden, any plants that you know, and just make sure that you label them. And then as a stretch challenge, I'd like to have that explaining some of the features of your garden. So for example, in my garden, I have peas because I love how easy they are to grow, how beautiful they smell. Okay, so explain the features of your garden, explain why you've chosen flowers and plants and trees that are in your garden, and giving your reasons why. So remember to include because as well. That's your stretch challenge. And you can just do that at the bottom of your sheet or on a separate piece of paper. And again, just take a photo and upload it onto Teams. Right, enjoy designing your garden.